Welcome to A Street Rat's Path to Ascension, Chapter 1, The Failed Ritual. Pentegras was the biggest city and capital of Grandengal, located on the western shores of the country. You'd expect that its streets would be full of life, merchants on every corner selling their exotic goods from faraway places, and of course local produce as well. But the streets were completely empty. A recent heavy rainfall had glistened them and made them slippery. But it wasn't the fear of broken bones that kept inhabitants in their homes. The news of another beggar gone missing had struck fear into the people of Pentegras. Though the disappearances of beggars wasn't uncommon, this marked the fifth one this week. The Vagrant Vanisher, they call him. I think his real identity is a stuck old ear chopper. They never caught him, did they? He started out with the unhoused, just like the Vanisher, but his final victim, as we all know, was the head of the Galendor temple guard. His body was never found. They did find his ear, though, resting on his pillow. That's how they knew it was the chopper's work. The door to the butcher shop opened. A man quickly entered, then shut the door behind him as quietly as he could. He tried his best to walk confidently to the counter. This was something he had done so many times before. The butcher sat on a chair. He massaged his neck and rubbed his eyes.
I wasn't expecting customers today. What can I get you?
The man pointed at the sausages hanging from the ceiling and motioned with 2 fingers.
Alright, that'll be 2 sector pans and 1 fractor. Oh, and I'll throw in some pork chops for another sector pans. But I advise you to make something with them today and save the sausages for later. You know, Clara 2 houses down has some carrots and potatoes that would make a nice pork chop stew. And if you're heading there, would you mind giving her this pig's heart? Come on. Tell you what, if you do me this favour, I'll give you the pork chops for free.
The man placed 2 sector pans and 1 fractor on the table.
I think it's all panic over nothing. Vagrant Vanisher. You don't much look like a vagrant to me. Unless you stole the coin in the coat, and I doubt the Vanisher could tell the difference. Do you know what I heard the other day? Somebody said that the Vanisher is really the stocking old ear chopper back chopping ears again. I thought we all knew who the ear chopper was, and he only targeted the unhoused.
His final victim was the captain of the Galendor temple guard, the man said, grabbed his meat and the heart and rushed out.
Right, his final victim, huh?
Was there cause for concern among the house citizens of Pentegras, or those who could pay for their own food? Not really. The corporate had made sure to only target those he had deemed as wouldn't be missed. Thor was a man of average height. He had neck-length hair tied up in an elaborate knot with a golden chain and a pendant. His hair was brown with a grey streak on the right side mirrored in his neatly groomed beard. His eyes were grey and intense in contrast to thick, softly shapen eyebrows. But that wasn't a man who stood in front of a table nestled between 2 large cages in the basement. His hair had gotten longer, the grey streak had gotten bigger and parts of it had turned white. His beard was unkempt, his eyes looked tired and desperate, but with a glint of who he used to be. He was confident that no one would find him, or those he had captured and locked in cages. This was the western part of the city after all, an area known as Stockenhold. It used to be the heart of the city, but now it was free of prying eyes, deserted and abandoned for years. Many of the buildings were completely rotten, many had fallen over, but one building kind of resembled its former glory, the inn, Sector Pen's Scepter. This was where Thor had set up things for his ritual. So why was he doing all of this? Thor used to be one of the greatest wizards in all of Esroden. He was one of only 6 members of the Cerulean Consortium, but lately he had fallen ill. Unfortunately, greatness doesn't save one from the inevitable, and death was inevitable for Thor. But he wasn't going to leave Esroden without a fight, no. He was going to use 50 beggars, street rats and thieves in a ritual to restore his life. But beggars, street rats and thieves are the most reliable source of life, and a few of them had died before he could gather the rest. Theorem Thor was growing desperate. The ritual must happen tonight. A few rats and whatever other creatures lurks in these walls will have to do to fill in for the missing people. Purple light flowed through the room and struck the chest of every street rat, beggar and thief. Blood spewed from Tyrium's mouth, and then everything went black. What happened? One of the street rats, a young man with long brown messy hair, greyish skin hidden under a layer of grime and dirt, and brown, usually playful eyes, tried to push himself off the ground. But he was tired, so he took a moment to rest. He looked around the cage and saw that he was the only one who still drew breath. Hello. Hi. So the ritual failed, and it seemed to have had some unattended side effects. I'm now in an incorporeal state, and you seem to have been infused with all the lives of the people that I intended to consume for myself. And on top of that, you've got my magical powers infused in you as well. I know this is a lot to take in, so let's start with something simple. What's your name? The street rat looked around the room and spotted a transparent purple figure. My name? I'm sorry, do I stutter? Your name? What is it? The figure was rather impatient. I don't have one, the street rat said. What? Your parents never gave you a name? The figure sounded confused, but to the street rat it made perfect sense. Many street rats lacked names, either because their parents had died, or because they had no use for them. I never met them. Well, I'm gonna have to give you one then. Atrobos. The street rat put the name in his mind and said it out loud. Atrobos. Do you have any better suggestions? No, I like Atrobos. I'm Atrobos. My name is Atrobos. He finally had a name. Yes, no, that's all sorted. There's a tub upstairs. I suggest you fill with water and get in. I can't smell you, but I can imagine what you smell like just by looking at you. There should be a change of clothes there as well. I suggest you burn the old rags you're wearing, and we have to do something about those teeth. What's wrong with my teeth? Well, you're missing half of them, and there are clear signs of rot. And close your mouth, please, you're making me nauseous, and I don't know what will happen if I... in this form. Atrobos got to his feet and brushed off some dirt. I said go upstairs and take a bath. Brushing off a little bit of dirt when you're literally covered in filth is useless! Atrobos looked around. How do I get out? The figure went silent for a moment. I didn't think of that. Use the... No, there's no key. I locked the door with magic. I guess I have to stomach your filth a little bit longer while I teach you a spell to open the door. Right. Wave your hand at the door and say this. Open the door-o. Atrobos did what the wizard said and nothing happened. That's not a spell, is it? You're catching on quickly. Good. The actual spell is... Opentarius Drake. What? Well, the word is Opentarius Drake, but when you cast it as a spell, it sounds a little bit different. Okay. Atrobos got into position. Do I still need to wave my hand at the door? Well, if it helps, then sure. Opentarius Drake. Atrobos said, but nothing happened. Are you messing with me again? No, you can't just make a few guttural sounds and expect the door to open. You have to actually say Opentarius Drake and imagine what you want to happen. Atrobos tried again. This time a faint light glowed from the lock, but it remained shut. You are messing with me. Did you really expect the spell to work the first time you tried it? You've only just now acquired your powers. Keep going and it will open. It took an hour for the door to open. And when it finally did, Atrobos headed upstairs for his bath as the wizard had suggested. It was the first proper bath he had had in years. As he settled into the tub, the water turned brown. For the first time in ages, he could see the greyish-white colour of his skin as the dirt was washed away. He dipped his head beneath the surface, letting the water penetrate his greasy hair. Running his fingers through it, he felt the strands slip smoothly through his hand. He surfaced, leaned back, trying to enjoy the wonderful feeling of the hot water covering his body. But his enjoyment was quickly interrupted by a horrible smell entering his nostrils. He quickly discovered the source of the smell. The pile of clothes he had just gotten out of. There was no way he was going to put those back on again. He got out of the tub, picked them up and threw them in the fireplace, which only made things worse. He quickly tried to grab them again. Stop! You'll burn yourself! The smell will disappear as they burn. Grab the dried lavender and throw it on the flames. The twigs with the purple flowers. On the table with the mirror. Atropos found the lavender and threw all of it on the flames. An intense, flowery smell filled the room, blended with a bit of sweat and dirt. You didn't need to use all of it. The clothes are in a drawer under the bed, Tyrion said. Atropos opened the drawer, found the clothes and put them on. It fit you surprisingly well. They were my clothes. Don't worry, I haven't worn them in a while. Not since I got sick, and they stopped fitting me. Atropos could sense that the wizard didn't want to elaborate on his illness. But it wasn't through intuition, but rather a strong emotional connection. He felt the wizard's feeling on the topic wash over him, so he knew that if he prodded too much about the wizard's illness, the wizard would shut down. Does this connection work both ways? Could the wizard tell what I'm feeling? Now to fix those teeth. You simply wave your hand over your mouth and say the word Dentivox, and imagine what you want to happen. It took Atropos several tries to fix his teeth, and each try was intensely painful. On his second try, he managed to grow his teeth so long that it was sticking out of his mouth. He tried to bargain with the wizard to just let him be, but the wizard countered with, What? I can barely understand what you're saying, and you look ridiculous. Dentivos Mentarius should bring them back to proper size. A few more tries and he finally managed to fix his teeth to something the wizard was satisfied with. Good. You no longer look like a street rat, and you don't look like a freak either. It's still taking a very long time to perfect spells, and that's a bit worrying. But get some rest. Tomorrow at first sunlight, we'll be on our way to Jacost in the tower of the Cerulean Consortium.